If you're a home service business who's running Google ads and you're at a good spot, but every time you increase your ad budget, your cost per lead shoots up, your lead quality goes down, or you're just unable to increase the budget and get more leads coming in, I'm going to explain to you exactly why that's happening and how we can improve it. So first, let me explain exactly why that's happening. You have to imagine every single click that you get from your Google ads on a graph like this. Now bear with me as I explain this here. Every click has its own associated cost. So let's mark this as the cost part. And then that's pretty obvious, right? So every click comes in at a certain price point. Maybe some come in at $5, maybe some come in at $10, $15, $20, so on, you get it. But not only does every click come in at a cost, it also comes in at some sort of like associated value. Because we know when we're running these ads that not every click is worth the same. For example, let's say we have a $10 click and that click came in at 2 a.m. and they're searching for best paint prices in my area. Now, assuming you're like a painting contractor or something like that. That's a pretty low value click. Like we don't really think they're probably going to convert to becoming customers for you. We think that they're probably going to go to Home Depot and buy their own paint. So not exactly high value click. Whereas you could also have a $10 click that says painting contractor near me, or who's the best person to paint my siding or something like that. Now, if that's also $10, it's much higher on the value. Now we can kind of quantify this value, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to call this chance to convert. So chance to convert. So down here we have a 0% chance. Up here we have a 100% chance. And then going across this line here back and forth here is the increasing in likelihood that they're actually going to convert to a customer. So looking at this graph we have here, the most valuable clicks are going to be obviously right over here. They're the highest chance to convert. They have the lowest cost. Super high valuable over here in the corner. Now the worst clicks are going to be up here. Really high cost, it might be in the $40 at this point. Let's fill this out. 25, 30. Really high cost, really low chance to convert. They're way down here. We don't want to be spending money on those. Okay, so now we understand that every click comes in somewhere on this graph somewhere with an associated chance to convert and a cost to it. And the higher value ones are over here and the lower value ones are over here. And the thing is, on some point on this graph, we're going to have a line where it no longer makes sense for you to pay for that click. We can quantify this. I'll come back up to this graph in a second, but I want to quantify this first. So let's just do the financial model of it. Let's say that your cost to acquire a customer that you're profitable at is, so nice round number, let's do $300. So your CAC is $300. Anything below this is great. Anything above this, you're not profitable. You can't scale the ads. So if your CAC is $300, and next thing we want to know is what is our close rate on a qualified lead? So close rate, again, for simple math, let's just say it's 50%. Okay, so now that we know our close rate and we know our absolute maximum cost to acquire a customer, we can just do the math on this and figure out our absolute maximum cost per lead we're willing to take. So our max CPL, I'll do max here as well, is going to be $150, if I can write. $150. That's what we're willing to pay, absolute maximum for a lead. Anything below that, we're in the gravy. We can scale the ads. We're doing great. So once we understand this, we can come back to this graph and we can actually kind of determine where that threshold is, and we'll be able to draw a nice line through the graph where everything below it is valuable and everything above it is not valuable. So let me do this for you. So if our max is $150, we're going to have to do some actual percentages here to make it easy for us. 50%, 75%, 25%. Let's do it on this chart. Now, I'm going to erase all of these. Let's start with 50%. So if the chance to convert is 50%, that means that we're willing to pay half of this 150 because it takes two of those to pay. So it'd be $75. Now, these numbers are kind of low over here for how high of a CAC we have in this example. I know most people don't have that high unless you're a big project, but we'll change this on the side over here. So let me just fix this real quick for you. Okay, so cost per clicks over here, we have these high numbers. Again, the philosophy is the same, even if in your industry, your cost per clicks don't get nearly this expensive. This is more for some big projects, big industries. The cost and the breakdown is totally the same. If your CAC is $30 that you're willing to pay, just do everything divided by 10. It's the same thing. So what we're saying, let's use green to denote the threshold here on the graph. For maximum cost per lead we're willing to pay is $150, and we have 100% confidence that they're going to convert, then it's going to be up here, right? Because they'll be 150, and we have 100% confidence that they're going to convert, right? Every time we get that lead, every time they convert, we're going to get 100%. Realistically, you'll never have 100%, but it just helps us math it out. Now we just need like another point. We can kind of draw the line here. So let's say 25% chance to convert. Somebody has a 25% chance to convert. We simply just take this 150 and divide it by 4. 150 divided by 4 is like 3750, I believe, 3750, which would be right around here. So this, as you can see, because we're coming here to here, this is where that threshold is. Now we can kind of take this line here, we can just draw a line through it, and we'll see that everything over here, all of these are going to be clicks that are too expensive for us. These are clicks we don't want to pay for because we're paying $100 for only a 25% chance to convert that click into a lead, which then on average, if we're paying $100 for all these clicks, our cost per lead is gonna be $400, which is too high. Whereas instead over here, if we're paying for this, let's say $50 clicks, 75% chance to close, that cost per lead is only going to be, what is that, like $75? If I'm doing the math right, probably not, but it's going to be less than this 150. I hope this is clear. I hope you're sticking with me. I hope I didn't pick too big of numbers. But moral of the story is what you need to know is that every click has some borderline, underlying associated cost per lead value that might not always be clear. And the goal of a campaign is to get all the clicks on the right side over here, on the right side of this graph. Okay, now what does this have to do with scaling your ads, right? This is kind of where the unlock is of how this actually works. When you're starting a campaign and say you're spending, like I said, $3,000 a month, which in this scenario, you probably want to spend more. So let's say 5,000 just because the clicks are so expensive. You're spending like maybe $5,000 a month. You're really only ever paying for the lower cost per clicks in general. So what that looks like is maybe at this threshold, you're only paying for everything below that line. Let's call this the 5K mark. Now what that means is a majority of your clicks, even if you're running like not an amazing campaign, the vast majority of your clicks are going to be in this green zone. You're going to be doing just fine over here because all your clicks are coming over here and you have hardly any that are coming over here. So just in a pure ratio standpoint, you're going to be pretty profitable here. Now, what happens is once you start to scale your ads, let's say you double it. Let's say you go all the way up here. Let's say you're at the 10K mark. Now look at it. Now you're looking at 50-50, where about half the clicks you get are going to be in this green zone. Then the other half are going to be in this red zone. Actually, we're probably a little more in the red than normal. So it's going to be much more difficult to stay profitable at this point with a campaign that's not targeted. You need to be running campaigns that are super targeted and super dialed in to only ever hit on this right side of the graph, no matter your threshold. So that's where some of this difficulty comes in, is where as you scale your campaign, inherently, you're going to be getting a little bit more of these bad clicks. So you really got to dial it in. But you do have the ability to scale because there's always those crazy expensive clicks that are out there. You just want to make sure when you're landing those crazy expensive clicks, you're getting them over here, the sweet spot, where they're incredibly likely to convert. And running a campaign, that way is how you do that. Now you get kind of the concept of this, but how do we do this in practice? Well, in practice, there's a few ways we can actually improve our quality of click that we're getting. Because really what we're doing is we're saying, agnostic of the price, we just want to increase their chance to convert. That's really the goal here. And as you increase your ad budget, as you go higher up, that is even more important for you to be sure that you're looking at just the highest quality clicks. So how do we do this? Number one way, which I know you've probably heard of, is negative keywords. What this does is it basically just blocks this side of the chart. So if we have negative keywords, like I said, maybe we're a painting company, we're gonna block this left side of the chart by saying, anytime a keyword mentions the word price in it, we're not gonna use it. So that might block some searches in here. We're not getting these searches anymore. Anytime a keyword says my competitor's name in it, if there's a specific competitor people are constantly searching for, they're not very likely to convert, we're blocking some here. Anytime a keyword says, how do I, or what's the best way to, or some sort of DIY search, again, we're blocking over here. Whoops, didn't mean to erase, but again, we're blocking over here. The thing with negative keywords too is you want to err on the side of caution with these. If you think that that keyword has a chance to not convert, like a DIY or something like that, you just want to block it. I know that somebody who might be searching DIY will eventually become a conversion for you. They might see it and be like, screw this, I'll just call a company. That does happen, that is possible. I'm just not willing to take that bet because the majority of the time they're not. So yes, you might be blocking one that could have converted at some point, but I'm just telling you, it's not going to be worth it because the majority are going to be bad clicks that you don't want to be paying for. So that's the first way, negative keywords. Second way is broad match keywords, and this helps in a completely different way. So broad match. Now, if you built your campaign right initially, you probably shouldn't really have any broad match in here. Broad match gets kind of wild. And there's a reason I put broad match after negative, because you have to have a really strong negative keyword list before you even start playing with broad match. But what broad match can do is it can find some outlier searches that other people aren't bidding on. So you want to introduce maybe 1 or 2 broad match keywords into your campaigns and watch them very closely. Make sure they don't get too crazy. But what they can do is they can bring you in some more cheaper clicks that actually do convert. So what it kind of does to the chart here, I know this is getting kind of messy, but what it kind of does to the chart is it almost expands it, where there's now a bigger area. We just kind of like imagine the chart expanding. There's now like a bigger area of searches to find. There's more searches for us out there that were even in our net to begin with. So that can be super beneficial as well. Again, you gotta be careful with this. You don't want to get too crazy with this. You can get a lot of junk traffic coming in that's going to burn your budget. So tight negative keyword list, broad match. And the third and final way I'm going to talk about to get more out of a scaling budget is to improve your landing page. Start split testing the landing page. Think about it. If your landing page conversion rate right now is 15%, which is pretty good, you can get that to 20%. That's a huge difference. That will seriously increase the amount of leads you're getting by what? 25%, 33%, depending on how you look at it, how you do the math. That's a huge difference. What that does is basically it brings this green line here. I don't know if I can do this, but it brings this green line here and it kind of tilts it like this. So now there's more green area for you. There's more valuable because it's more likely to convert, if that makes sense. We have a higher likelihood of converting. Basically, all these numbers kind of scoot over, so it looks a little something like this, right? You get the idea. But that's really the way to do it. So to recap, as your budget goes up, as you're scaling your campaigns, there's gonna be fewer and fewer high value clicks for you to land. And to combat this, you need to, first of all, you need to calculate what your maximum cost per lead is so you can kind of understand this and you can make smart decisions. But then after that, once you realize that, you need to be adding negative keywords. You need to be playing with broad match search terms. See if you can find some hidden keywords that nobody else is really bidding on. And you need to be split testing your landing page. Improving that landing page conversion rate will be a huge impact to the campaign, get you more leads. And now the leads that were once unobtainable are converting more and are worth more, and you can keep scaling that campaign. If you found this video helpful, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want us to build a campaign for you, check out that description where there's a link to the website where we'll build you a full campaign, run it for 90 days, hand it off to you, and it's yours to own forever. Get you started with Google Ads, get you set up properly, or if you're already running ads, how to improve it. All right, that's all I got. See you in the next video.